All right, everyone. Welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we got a great one today. It involves one of my favorite companies of all times, that freak show called Sweet Baby Inc. So let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. All right, so here it is. Sweet Baby Inc. employee admits goal is burning the games industry to the ground. Wow, that's saying a lot for Cameron Wild, who looks like some kind of homo, probably non-binary. I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe it's a girl that changed into a guy. Really don't know. Really don't care. I'm so sick of these freaking tourists. I want them all out of the industry. So, Cameron, you and I do share something right here. I would like to see the games industry burnt to the ground too. And my reasoning is going to be way different than yours, I'm sure. I want to see it burned to the ground so people like you are cremated in it and never show up again. You tourists are all gone. You all leave the industry. You are deemed unhireable. You're pariahs amongst development companies and all that. Maybe you can go make your own little studios and make your own stupid little independent games like Dustborn 2, and crap like that. But otherwise, yeah, we want you gone. And when I say we, I mean the predominant number of gamers out there. We want you gone, and gone for good. So let's read this story here. Sweet Baby Inc. employee named Cameron Wild, who claims to be non-binary, admitted that his goal is burning the games industry to the ground. In a presentation titled How to Get Away with Murder, Subverting Genre Expectations at the Game Developers of Color Expo, oh God, discovered by YouTuber Kirsch, Wild introduces himself saying he is a narrative designer and sensitivity reader with a company called Sweet Baby Inc. Big kudos to Trent report here for using the proper pronouns, he and his. Anyway, Wild, who according to Moby Games worked on Tales of Kenzera Zal, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Alan Wake 2, The Crew Motorfest, Kingdom 80s, and God of War Ragnarok. I like that one, even though the crap. But anyway, then declared, the stories we tell each other are way more than entertainment. They are how we create debate and preserve our collective values and beliefs, and we can and should make better, more expansive, more representational content. I'm so tired of this garbage. You can't just make good games. That's all you clowns have to do. I'm going to start my own company here. I'm going to start my own consultation company here. So keep your eyes open for that. I'll be announcing that in the next few weeks. Whether or not I ever have a gig, I don't care. But I'm going to exist. It's going to be out there just for the fun of it. And if people want to hire me, it'll be real cheap. I'll give them real good advice, and I guarantee you their games will not be worse because of the advice I give them. Anyway, there's a slide titled Cool, So Why Am I Here? One of the bullet points states, let's look at all the bullet points. Cool, so why am I here? We want colder stories, a safer world, and burning the games industry to the ground. I don't know if he really talks that way, but probably. Anyway, we want cooler stories. Well, you guys don't do anything cooler for stories. If you look at your resume there, Cameron, it's a shit fest. Most of those games are absolute garbage on there. There's one or two that aren't total dumpster fires, but that's about it. The rest of it, pure diarrhea. Just terrible stuff. Zero value. A safer world. The world is never going to be safe, Cameron. I'm sorry to tell you that, okay? As soon as you got off your mom's tit and you were on your own, the world isn't safe. It's never going to be safe. And the more of a victim that you make yourself out to be, the less safe you're going to be. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's not a safe place, man. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for me. It's not safe for anybody. Anything can go wrong at any time. And you can end up a smear on the highway, or you fall down in your shower. You've watched the movies. There's just a million things that can happen to you any day. You could be targeted by somebody, for whatever reason. I could be targeted. Any of us can be targeted. We can all be victimized. So the how do you deal with that? You live. You go out into the world and you live. You live every day. You don't run around scared, looking for safe places to hide and all that like a big pussy. You go out and you face the world and you act like a man. And you face whatever adversity you come across and you deal with it. That's what men do. And burning the games industry to the ground. Well, like I said, I'm sure your reasoning is way different than mine, but I agree with you on that one. The next slide titled, So Why Am I Still Here? Let's look at these bullet points. So why am I still here? To stop people who are uncomfortable hearing that not every story is theirs to own. To prove that space where whiteness doesn't have to live is where some of the best stories are told. When you do genre well, it's about going deep into that well of discomfort and telling a story that has bite. These are the kinds of stories that make me feel real. Oh, Cameron, nobody gives a shit. I'm sorry to tell you that. Your opinion is worthless. Your feelings are garbage. Nobody cares. You care. And maybe your little circle of, little queer friends care. Y'all go around and give each other BJs and, oh, yes, Cameron, we love you. You're just so special. But nobody else cares, right? To stop people who are uncomfortable hearing another story. I don't care. I know not every story is mine to own. And I don't care. And if you want to have a story and you want to have a space to tell your stories, tell them. Dustborn, that's one of your stories, right? That's one of you guys. That's on you. That's your team there. Okay? It failed miserably. It never topped, 100 concurrent players? Maybe it was one of the best stories ever told. I don't know. Nobody knows because nobody played the fucking game. And when you do a genre well, it's about going deep into that discomfort and telling a story that has bite. Well, again, I don't know if there was any discomfort in that game. Probably a lot. There must have been a lot of discomfort because nobody played it. Once again, nobody bought it. Nobody played it. Nobody cared. And if those are the stories that make you feel real, well, good on you, buddy. Later in the presentation, Wild explains why Blazing Saddles is his favorite film. Hey, I enjoy this film immensely myself. The reason why I love it, beyond some truly Mel Brooksian slapstick humor and fart jokes, Blazing Saddles is extremely aware of social inequality and finds its humor in that darkness, which means I can laugh in a way that is cathartic. It's a movie that isn't making jokes about me, but for me, and I think that's really awesome. Because you can just tell in the text, but it's also the fact that Brooks worked with black writers to make sure the jokes came at the expense of whiteness and chipped away at the absurdity of social hierarchy. It's deliberately and unexpectedly a narrative that contributes to the liberation of people like me. It isn't respectful, it's offensive, but yeah, it offends the right people, which is, to me, the point of truly incisive, intentional genre work. I can't disagree with you on this. Mel Brooks was a genius. He's always been a genius. He's done some of the best scathing comedy in the history of movies. And great stuff like that. And what you got out of it, everybody gets different stuff out of movies. Good for you. I'm happy you enjoyed it. I'm happy we could have a conversation about this movie and debate this movie all day long and find common ground in this movie. But the problem is you people have lost that sense of humor and you have no ability to laugh at yourselves. You take yourselves so seriously now. You're all so serious all the time, and you're just the most miserable bunch of cunts I've ever come across in my life. And it's amazing because, it's like you're always looking for something to be offended by. A cause, whatever. And it's disheartening, and that's why nobody likes you. That's why people are reviled by you. That's why nobody wants to play your games. You want to come into the game, and instead of telling that good story you want to tell or whatever, no, you want to lecture us. And you want to try to make us feel bad because of things we have no control over, like the fact that we're white, or the fact that we're straight men, or whatever. I have no control over that, and you're not going to make me feel bad about it. I'm not going to try to make you feel bad because you're some non-binary black weirdo. That's your problem. And that's your cross to bear in life, Whatever. Do you, bro? In one ironic moment during the presentation, Wild did share a nugget of truth. Ultimately, if you're telling a story that misses its audience, that doesn't ring true or fails to cut in the right direction, the problem isn't that it's just insensitive, the problem is it's bad. However, he then points to Django Unchained being an example of this while explaining his point of view. Wild stated, so a context-free version of art is supposed to make people uncomfortable. As an auteur, Quentin Tarantino feels like someone who grasps after edginess when they don't really have any human tragedy to explore the depths of. They don't understand that growth comes from trauma, sure, but it also comes from joy. He holds a no pain, no gain mentality that I think is unshakably rooted In white supremacist patriarchal values, Wilde asserted. Oh my god, what a asswipe. Anyway, Death of the Edgelord. When the black critics came out with savage think pieces about Django, I couldn't have cared less. If people don't like my movies, they don't like my movies, and if they don't get it, it doesn't matter. Hey man, that's Quentin Tarantino there, and I guess the quote at the bottom is, this guy's interpretation, I don't care what black people think, is kind of suspicious coming from a guy who gathers them to him all the time. It's not that I don't care what black people think, it's I don't care what anybody thinks. And God bless Quentin Tarantino on that one. I don't give a shit what people think either. You can all go pound sand. If you don't like me, you don't like me. Do I lose sleep over it? No, I don't lose sleep over it. More than likely, I probably don't like you either. I probably detest you. But, you know, it is what it is. The presentation then turns into a takedown of Tarantino, with Wilde stating, I think his work needs to be critiqued out of existence. Oh, so we have somebody here who wants to just cancel and erase him from history now. And that he specifically has to be addressed in any discussion of that work because Tarantino is capable of genre filmmaking, but the genre he's chosen with Django is blaxploitation. And why? I have my own pet theories, Wilde continued. Personally, it's the same thing we see with any non-black creator who thinks that black people are cool, but can't really examine the covetous nature of their feelings for their own role in black stories. People who in life met a black person that they wanted to follow, F, or befriend and never resolved it. The equivalent of a little boy pulling a little girl's pigtails, but it's a white filmmaker in black paint. Oh my god, this guy's detestable. He is such a loser. After about 10 minutes of reviewing Django Unchained and comparing it to Blazing Saddles, Wilde declared, arguably, Django should never have existed because the truth is some stories are not yours to tell. Unless you're willing to step out of the limelight as a white person, you aren't equipped to tell a story about a black experience. However, if you're willing to put your own ego aside, well, you can go ahead and make Blazing Saddles something great. He then wrapped up the entire presentation by sharing good genre starts with representation on a creative team. The foundations of the project must be solid. Wilde also claimed that the identity of your characters, specifically your heroes, must define their challenges in the narrative, but it must also define their triumphs. Finally, Wilde claims that good genre must consider its relationship to power. There's no making these people happy. Absolutely not making these people happy. So, he does have some valid points and all that, but honestly, the fact that he thinks somebody can't tell somebody else's story is disturbing when these people want to just infest every single aspect of gaming, movies, video, or television and all that kind of stuff, and change stories, change characters, inject themselves into it, whether it be their sexuality, their color, their religion, their gender, their weird sexual fetishes, whatever it is. They want to inject themselves into everything and change these stories. And here he is saying that, you know, not every story is yours to tell when these people are trying to involve themselves in every single story that's out there. If you look at all the games that have been released over the last few years, there are very, very, very few you can look at and say that hasn't been tampered with by some sort of DEI clown, right? Very few. You know, some are very minor things. You know, some are major changes, major overhauls. Some are just glaring, you know, like the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows is just this glaring shit show of a game that we all know the only reason that the character is black, you know, the main character in a game set in feudal Japan is black, is because a bunch of liberal white women made this game. And they all want to show how cool and edgy they are by making a black man the protagonist. Probably because they all want to do them. Well, the ones that don't want to do each other, because they're probably a bunch of... Anyways. You know, but just to show how progressive they are. You know, they're vile. You know, things like this non-binary piece of shit needs to get out of this industry, and so do most of the women. You know, all these liberal women, they need to go, man. They're awful. All they do is ruin gaming. They ruin it for everybody. They put all this garbage into games that doesn't belong there. You know, and you know, every game now has to have some kind of friendship factor to it. And it gets annoying after a while. I'll make sure you make friends, you know. I know, you know, build your relationships up so you can get more powers and do that and this and that. And, oh, you got a homestead too and blah, blah, blah. You know, base building's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love a good base building game. But it doesn't belong in every game. Sometimes it just takes away from, you know, the action and all that. case in point, Assassin's Creed Valhalla had the village there, right? Your little town that you built. You started with your longhouse and all that, and that one wasn't very involved because all you had to do, most of it was fulfilled by doing quests and all that, and then build that building, sure, and it just popped up, right? And then it gave you more options in your town. You could go to a blacksmith. You had a store. You had a place you could sell fish. Different stuff like that. Places to launch missions. So forth and so on. So it is what it is. It wasn't horrible, but it was really kind of unnecessary too, because it kind of ground the game to a halt every time you had to deal with that sort of thing. But fortunately, it wasn't that involved. My understanding that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to take this to a new level, and you're going to have a very robust base building system in an Assassin's Creed game. And God, man, I mean, the game's bad enough as it is, and now we're going to add that to it. It's just going to make things worse. We're going to have, the black samurai. We're going to have the rap music during the fights. We're going to have the stolen artwork and flags and stuff like that. The inauthentic writing and building designs and all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to have base building and gay relations and, probably a friendship thing. I'm sure there are friendships to cultivate within the game. And if you get it to a certain level, you're going to get a bonus, maybe a new set of armor. Just all this stupid nonsense it's just very frustrating. Anyway, what do you guys think of this clown burning the games industry to the ground? I mean, really, I say it all the time. I'm glad when I see these studios close. I'm happy. I know it sucks for some good people from time to time, but if you're a good person and you're working for a bad studio, get out of that studio. If they're trying to push this garbage onto you, get out. Go find a job somewhere else. Create your own studio. Do something else for a while until the industry does implode. And then you can come back after and be like, hey, man, I'm ready to rebuild. Because sometimes you need to burn it down to rebuild it. And I think that's the case right now. This industry is just poisoned. It is cancer through and through with people like this. All these activists disguised as developers and consultants and everything else. And they all need to go. From the journalists to the developers to consultants like this. Why is it always a freaking nose ring? I mean, look at that. That's just, yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. I will see you next time. Until then, peace. Except you asshole.